So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sins? Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the street.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros Podcast. I'm your host, Residentdarrell, and with me this week, it's a two-man crew. It's me and Joe. What's up, brother?
Yo, yo, yo.
Now, this will be the second time that you're going to hear the intro, quote unquote, twice in the show because we recorded our interview before we recorded the rest of the show. But you know what? It was such a good time, Joe, that I don't think anybody's going to mind. I think they're going to really dig it. And I think that hearing me introduce Mr. Johnson, Jam, and Joe more than once is just okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. It was definitely an awesome interview.
Yes. A little foreshadowing because this is going to be in the beginning of the show. It was a really good time, a really good conversation with Jay Bartlett. You don't really know how these things are going to go. You just kind of hope that we set a good atmosphere and it goes well, and it did. It really did. I'm glad he talked a good steady amount. I don't think there was any point in time where we had to go, okay, well, let's move on to the next thing because you're not a talker. It was a really good time. So he was good. I really enjoyed it.
Nah, he definitely vibed with us, and we're definitely gonna have him back. So
absolutely. So boom, spoilers. It was so good, in fact, that we're gonna have him back. Hopefully towards the end of the year. I don't want to be pushy with people, but if they got a project coming out, I definitely want to get on that radar and say, hey, we did a good job. You had a good time, and then the next thing you do, you want to come talk about. Well, then, hey, selfishly, I just want to talk to you guys again. So let's make it happen. Make it happen, Captain.
damn, my wife bought these. She bought these stuffed like pepperoni things from our local, I guess our local meat place. I don't know, but this one has pepperoni and it's kind of like stromboli, but not really a stromboli. Yeah, I'm derailing the show for this because they're so damn good.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, you know what? My son is texting me right now, asking me to order pizza for him.
Just order the kid some pizza, Daryl. Come on.
I got to set boundaries, Joe. No means no.
Is this the vidless child?
Yeah, the one kid without COVID.
I order the kid pizza. He's
for not getting COVID.
It's like Resident Evil. He's in a last man standing match in the house, and you're the only two left.
I know, right? Which one's gonna fall? Well, I've been raw dogging.
The loser buys pizza.
I've been raw dogging all the O2 in this house, so I haven't worn a mask yet. So if I get it, that's why.
I've been raw dogging all the O2. I would say last person to get COVID in the house has to pay for pizza.
Oh, dude, that's what's up. I need to go there and kiss my wife real quick. Come here, babe. Spit in my mouth so I don't have to buy pizza. So, this is the Loot Bros Podcast. We are here to talk about video games and things in the ballpark. I think we're getting into a comfortable place where our audience knows that we're not just going to talk about video games. It might be wrestling, might be comic books, might be action figures, might be all of the above. Might be spitting in each other's mouths and getting COVID. Who knows? So, but Joe, we are going to start this week's show off with a toast, as we always do. This toast is going to go to our guest, Jay, for this awesome interview that we got coming up, but also selfishly, I want to toast to my son and I told you this already, but my son and I was played through the Resident Evil remake of the first game, start to finish this weekend. Oh,
snap. Popped his Resident Evil cherry. Let's go.
Dude, yes. It was so freaking awesome, man. He was very into it. It was natural. It all worked itself out, man. It was we had a good time. He was totally getting into the lore, asking questions. He's like, oh man, I think this guy's the traitor. I think this guy's the thing. Oh man, how did this creature get created? Blah, blah, blah. He was reading all the files. We didn't skip a file in the game. Dude, it was awesome. So awesome. Also want to shout out our Patreon producers for the month of January. My name is FM Mayo, MZ Nitro, Redbeard Rick, and El Presidente Lady Bird. It was funny because earlier we cracked a couple Diet Cokes. Jesus. And my son slurped it up like a savage. And I'm like, ugh, what was that for?
Snyder cut.
Another one. That's right. Yeah, my son slurped it up like a savage. And he goes, oh, look, Dad, it's like I'm on your podcast. It's the little things in life, man. It's the little things. Mm. Whoa, good God Almighty! I just had a kid pop up beside me. What's up, son? That's fine. Wash your hands before you touch anything down there, COVID boy. Love you. He just came out of nowhere like a freaking RKO. I like looked up and he was there. Like, oh, you got me. So, all right, Joe, since it's just you and I'm going to do a real quick run of the business and then we'll let you get into what you've been playing. So if you're listening, guys, check out the Patreon. You can get in for as little as $1. We got all kinds of extra content on there. This is the big one. This month coming up, you're going to get the dreaded 5-hour podcast. It's not 5 hours anymore. I cut some of it out, but you got that one. You're going to have a deep dive on there, possibly 2. I don't know. Got something in the can. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, all of the extra stuff that we do month in and month out. There's going to be another B-roll episode rolling out pretty soon. I'm starting to get enough content built up for another one of those. Also, check out the other shows we do, 2236 Podcast. We got the Loot Bros Comic Cast. Joe, you're Mr. TMNT84 on Twitch. I am Residentdarrell on Twitch. Hopefully, tomorrow, as of the time of recording, we'll be back on Twitch doing a little bit of streaming. We actually, my son and I were actually kind of like, oh, dang, we should have streamed our Resident Evil. We could have done a good our total game time was 12 hours. It probably took us 16, to actually do it because I had to stop a ton and get people things and medicines and vitamins and foods and blah blah blah. So it's been live in the Elsor compound. So Joe, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Games, Daryl. I've been playing games.
I'm sure it's been them 1 hour rat trashes.
Oh yeah, those masterpieces. I'll start with the newest stuff I've been playing and work backwards. So I purchased Pokemon Arceus, Legends Arceus for the Switch, and I'm loving this game. It's kind of like playing Pokemon for the first time again. So it kind of captures some of that magic where, you feel like you've played a game so many times and, you get so used to the way the mechanics work and how the kind of, foundation of the game and the structure of the game is the same. And it's just like, oh, well, you pick your starter and then you go in the woods and you catch these little creatures against their will and you make them fight each other like dogs. It's like dog fighting. Yeah. Honestly, Pokemon is just dog fighting. That's legal. Or is it? We don't know. But anyway, I just think it's crazy how it's been around for 25 years and they've never really tried to shake the foundation at all, really, of like the core game series. And granted, this is like a Legends game, so it's technically not a core series game, but it does a lot of things that are really cool and that I would like to see the core games kind of adapt. And moving forward, I would like to see them go in this route. So for instance, like you still pick your starter at the beginning, but you do like quests and stuff there. There's like quests, there's no gyms. That's all gone. All that stuff is like been removed from the game. And you can just run up on a Pokemon and like throw a Pokeball at it and catch it like Pokemon Go. Or if it's like a Pokemon that like is more afraid of you or it's more fierce, then you have indicators that you have to battle it to catch it. It has a cool mechanic where battles work in different ways where you get like a stylish and like a, can't remember what the other style was called. I think it's like they're like brave or stylish. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've only played for a few hours. So, but you can basically forego if you do a once type of battling, you can do a stronger attack, like a heavier attack, but it might take you longer to do your next turn versus like doing a swift attack. And then the swift attack is basically like you can do multiple by the time your opponent can go again, but it might not be as strong. So there's different strategies you can take, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's a rough game as far as like graphically. It's not the most beautiful game. It's kind of like, I would kind of say it's like Marvel versus Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, where it's really not the most beautiful game, but it's more the gameplay that matters than the actual look of the game, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm about 2 or 3 hours in. I just finished my like first major quest in the game, and I'm liking it. It's really interesting. It's fun. And good. Pokemon games haven't been fun for me for a while. Like they've been fun as far as like Sword and Shield was a good game. It was fun to play, but it didn't give me that like wow factor that Pokemon's supposed to give you. And I feel like this is a step in like the right direction of like what an open world Pokemon game could be. So I would definitely check out Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's out now on the Switch. What else have I played? I finished Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. Holy crap, that game has a lot of chapters. Like, that's all I can really say. It just has a lot of chapters, Dale. There's like 20 something chapters, and I felt like the game went on forever. Whereas like the first version of the game was shorter, because you have all these missions where you have to play as like Rachel from Ninja Gaiden and also from Dead or Alive. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
I just felt like the game just took longer than I wanted it to take, but it's still a great game. Still plays really well on the PS4. The PS4 version is really cool and really tight. I like the control scheme. I felt like it played a little bit better than the 360 version. It was a little bit faster. I mean, the engine's a little bit more current, but it still holds up. I think Ninja Gaiden 2 is definitely an awesome game, and it definitely took what they did with Ninja Gaiden Black or Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1, and it kind of just expanded on it. I do like how you have all the weapons unlocked from the beginning if you want, and you can kind of just go through and play with any weapon you want and any playstyle you want. So I think that's pretty different. Have you played Ninja Gaiden?
I've played Sigma and I think Sigma 2. Which one was on the Vita?
Sigma and Sigma 2.
Okay, so I've played them, yes. I'm trash at them and I've never beat them.
I think the only ones you never got Sigma 3 because I think they were in process of making it, and then it was like, oh, well. And then they didn't make it, so.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I did the same thing when it came to beating it. I was like, oh, well. And I didn't beat it.
Okay. All right.
Now, I was really terrible at those games. And what's funny is there's things about them that are reminiscent of Onimusha. Or maybe Onimusha is reminiscent of those games. But like there's things about it I really dig and I really love, but it's just, I don't know. And like you said, they are very long. Lots of chapters.
I'm just surprised we never got Onimusha 2 remastered after the first one came out. I think the first one sold well enough to bring the other two out. I think there's just a lot of like red tape bringing the other two games to console. I know the third game, obviously, you have the Jean Reno stuff where like it's expensive to get the rights to Jean Reno, put him back in the game. But I honestly think like it's worth it. I really wish they would just give us a double pack and put the last two Onimusha games out.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
I mean, I don't need to say like, where's my fucking Onimusha HD like I did for like 27 episodes on Game Stuff, and then finally got it. But like,
it worked.
It did work. I put it out in the stratosphere. So if I'm gonna do that, it's gonna be like, where the fuck is my Parasite Eve remastered? That's because that's what I want now. Like that's all I want now.
I would just give all the monies for that.
All right, it would look so beautiful on a PS5. Oh, I just want it.
Yeah.
I just want it. What else have I played? I have played It Takes Two with Corey. We are probably near the end of the game now. I'm not going to give any spoilers because everybody who plays this has to experience it for themselves. Like this game's an absolute tour de force. I know, Daryl, you played like,
all the way to where you get out of the tree into the house.
Okay, so you got back into the house.
Yep.
Okay. So you beat the giant bee, right? That was the last thing you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That game is just special. It's just special. That's all I can say. Like, it definitely deserved to win Game of the Year. I know there's a lot of shit talkers who are like, oh, how'd this lame child's game win Game of the Year? I mean, it's got really good writing.
It's got chops, man. It's a good game.
It's just good. Like, just the different gameplay styles that you get immersed into, and all the different, like, ways that they change up the gameplay as far as like the power-ups that you get for each section of the game. It's just a really, really friggin' cool game. Like it's just cool. Like I'm blown away how much fun I'm having with this game. And it's definitely something like I would take your best friend, get the game, you get a buddy pass so someone can play with you for free. I mean, the only problem with the buddy pass is the other person doesn't get trophies. So if you're worried about that, then you both need copies. But if you're not, get a buddy together and play. Side tangent. Did you, Daryl, did you see that they announced, and a little bit of news on the show, I guess. Did you see that they announced buddy passes for all of the Dark Pictures anthology game?
I did not see that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, there's buddy pass now. So anybody can buy the game and then play with a friend for free.
That's awesome because now they have like the co-op modes and they're really taking off. That's a really, really good incentive to get into that game.
I mean, I just think those games are phenomenal, and I would love to have a sit down where we go through all three of them, or even when the series is all wrapped up, just to like replay them all one more time and just like gush about how good the series is and how innovative the playstyle is, where like you take control of one character, they take control of another, but you can't see what the other person's doing at all.
Heck yeah.
And it's just oh man, just those games are great.
I'm totally down, dude. I think I did a spoiler cast or deep dive for Man of Medan, either on Push to Plat or I did it on PG Spoilers, but I'm totally down to do another one. And then Little Hope, I don't think we ever did a real spoiler cast or deep dive. So I'm totally down with that.
Did you get the platinum in that?
No, dude. I actually
we should go for it together because I need to play through a second time on the other side of the characters.
You kind of got to play through a few times, man. I was working with Jared. Shout out to a friend of the show, Jared. For we got together and we played through. I think it was Man Medan. Yeah, I know one full time together to get the multiplayer trophies, and but I think you end up having to beat that stuff several times. But which is why I didn't go for the platinum. But now that my wife and I are doing these, choice based games together. It's back on the table for sure, but I'm totally down to do a multiplayer run of each game with you. Like 100%. I'm down with that.
Nice. Looks like we have a bunch of extra content like just lined up for you guys.
Lined up. That's right.
Lined up.
Yeah. And hopefully for February, in February, we'll record House of Ashes as the deep dive for March. So
yeah, definitely. I just picked it up in that last sale and I definitely want to gush about that one. I haven't started it yet, but I've heard very good things. Did you start it yet?
Yeah, I started. I haven't finished it yet, but it's it's unfortunate because I was playing it. So Kalai's already beat it. I was playing it during all of my crazy study stuff,
Oh, you can't concentrate on it then.
No, I really couldn't. And the bad thing was this is like, even though I was playing the game, like I spent several hours studying, right? So I was like, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna reward myself with a game. Mm-hmm. But what was happening was while I was playing games, is I'd be really like, I should be studying. And then when I failed my exam, I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, I really blamed myself really hard for playing video games because I was like, and I only lost. I missed 2 points, 2 freaking points, man. And so that was very frustrating. So. But you know what? It looks like it's going to be March before I can retake the exam. So I've got, I'm getting ready. I was actually messaging back and forth with another patron. Shout out to Gaz. I was telling him, I was like, yeah, he said I was slamming out a bunch of games, and I beat a bunch of stuff. But getting ready to go back into study mode. So all of February is going to be study mode. So I'm trying to get some Patreon stuff set up now so that my month isn't as crazy and tied up with that, because I know that it's gonna be difficult. But what else you been playing?
Other than that, it's really just been I dabbled a tiny bit in Lego DC Supervillains. Have you tried that one out?
Yep, I was playing it with my son the other night.
That game is just amazing.
It's really good, dude.
If the new Star Wars game is any bit as good as that game, we're in for a real treat, because I think that they just keep, like, ever since I would say maybe like Hobbit, or probably the Hobbit, they've started just making these games more individualized and different. They're not just like, we're dumping assets from like one Lego game or one Lego property or license, and then we're just going to make levels and that's it. And, just collect your minifigs, you just collect your Lego studs and go through the levels. They've actually been putting like work into these games, and they actually play differently and have different dynamics and different mechanics. And I think it's really cool because the Lego one is cool. Like, you create your own character. You play as your own character. It's very different from most of the Lego games out there. So I'm definitely having a blast with it. I played like the first level. That's really all I've played. But from what I played so far, I'm really digging it. And I really want to get back into it.
Same here. We played the first level and went through some of the open world stuff, done some of the side missions in there. It's basically like Grand Theft Auto Lego. Like, did you ever play Lego City Undercover?
Yeah, that game's phenomenal.
Yep, and Lego Worlds and stuff like that.
That game has no business being as good as it is.
You're right, and that's exactly how this is. That's how I feel about this game.
Yeah, so. It's just really cool. It's a really cool game. We got it for free on PlayStation Plus last month, so you guys should definitely check it out. If you got it for free, I would definitely check it out. It's a really good game. Other than that, I really didn't play much else. I think I played a little bit of The Messenger on the Switch, and again, that's just more Ninja Gaiden, basically. It's basically a homage to Ninja Gaiden, or an homage to Ninja Gaiden, and it's very, very, very tough. And I'm on a boss right now that's been kicking my ass for like 4 straight days, and I just keep getting closer and closer to killing him, but can't do it. And I'm just, now that Pokemon's out, I was like, I don't have to play this now. Dude, I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it when I have nothing else to play on the Switch. So, what have you been playing, Darryl?
Man, I've been playing a bunch of stuff. So actually, it's funny. As I'm talking about it right now, I was posting into the Backlog Beatdown group, which you can do that if you want to be a part of our Backlog Beatdown event. That Noah and I smashed out the campaign of Fear 3 on PS3 today. So
Congratulations.
it was awesome, dude. The game is so freaking good. Like, and the co-op is it's awesome. The co-op is excellent in Fear 3. First person shooter, horror, psychological horror game. The language is a little rough, and I didn't, I typically don't play a lot of mature games with the kids, and I try to be mindful of some of that stuff. And I was like, you know what, we'll play it, and if the language is bad, because it says on there it's rough, I was like, well, if it's bad, we'll just turn the the individual volume down for typically the characters or whatever. And it worked. I mean, it's fine. You turn down some of the environmental volume. You don't hear all the random F words from the soldiers, because that's essentially all they do is scream the F word while you're shooting at them. The actual narrative dialogue and the actual campaign story and stuff wasn't vulgar, wasn't terrible at all. And the game's a little bloody, a little gory, but I mean, we've seen worse. So I felt pretty good playing it with him. The story it's pretty interesting and wild. And I guess it's really cool, man, because like it's couch co-op, right? Split screen. And so I was player 1, he was player 2, and you're two brothers, right? But one of them's dead. One of them's like a spirit, that can possess people and has all these supernatural powers. And then the other is just a soldier, essentially a super soldier. And so I was the soldier, he was the spirit. And as you're doing, like, you're killing your enemies and you're, doing these different things, there's these little like side objectives or challenges that pop up, like stay in cover for 100 seconds, stay in cover for 200 seconds. As a matter of fact, staying in cover for 100 seconds is called pitching a tent. And then staying in cover for 200 seconds is called Mr. Campy or something like that. And it's a little clever, like little challenge names or whatever. And then killing enemies with various guns, finding collectibles, whatever, finding these little these people who are already dead in the map, and you can share the experience you pick up from that, or you can steal it if you're playing competitive against your co-op partner to see who gets the higher score during each level. And I didn't really understand the score, like they call them intervals for each level. I didn't really understand the score until you beat the game. When you beat the game, the ending is decided by who has the most points. So, and the very final sequences of the game, it comes down to this decision. Do you make the good decision or the bad decision? And then the bad decision was determined based on who got each decision is just determined on the score. And of course, Noah won. He beat me out on score because he's an amazing gamer. And so, like, we got the bad ending. I would call the bad ending, because we got, he won, and it was awesome. It was just so cool. Like, it's a 6-hour campaign. Probably took us 7.5 hours today. And it was just good, man. It was just a really good time. It had some really eerie spots. It had some, just some overly, action shooty Call of Duty-ish spots. I mean, the whole game's a pretty wide open shooter. But it was good. It was just a random game that I had brought down. So my family was on vacation this week. And I stayed home and watched the pups and worked. So I brought a handful of games into the game room, and I was like, I'm going to sit on these new recliners that I bought, and I'm going to play video games and watch movies until I pass out every day. And that's what I did. And so Fear 3 was one of the games that I grabbed. I was like, I've always heard this game is good. I have never finished the first game. I never touched the second game, but I hear the third game is the best one of the three. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to jump in and play it. And I didn't play it by myself because I didn't make it that far due to the other games I'm about to talk about. But yeah, dude, my sons, we were sitting there and we were like, you want to play it? Let's try it. If it's too bad, we'll turn it off. No big deal. And it was awesome. We had a great time. So put some points on the board for that one. As I said, later in the episode, my son and I might have already said it. I toasted to it. That's right. We went through Resident Evil Remake. That was like that's probably like the highlight of the week for us. just knocking out Resident Evil Remake. That was such a fantastic experience, playing that with my son and just, going through that game again. I haven't beat Resident Evil Remake in so many years. Like, I've played it a few times on PS3. I've never played it on PS4, although they share the same trophy list, which I didn't realize that. So, but I haven't beat the game. And you have to beat the game multiple times to get all the trophies, and like there's different endings, there's different characters you can save. And man, we had a good time. We got the good ending in Resident Evil Remake. We saved everybody on Jill's scenario. So it was awesome. It was really good. And we're going to go back. He was so into it. He's like, let's go through it again. This time, let's play Chris's campaign. So totally going to do that. And we might have a new thing, me and my son playing through the Resident Evil franchise. So I'm not going to push it, but we definitely have enjoyed ourselves. So outside of that, I beat DMC Definitive Edition. Now I know, Joe, you've played DMC, right?
Yes, I love DMC. I actually think it's a really good game. I think Ninja Theory was Ninja Theory or Team Ninja that did that.
It was Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory did an amazing job.
God, they did.
Modernizing Devil May Cry, and I really wish they would do another one. Honestly, I do, like, so badly, but they can't happen now because aren't they owned by Microsoft?
That's correct. So, yep, it was. But you know what? It was a good game. Like, and it was one that I slept on because I played it on PS3 originally. Played the first mission and was just like, I don't like the red hue. Just like all the filtering that they used. Dante's a little. He's trying to be punk rock, it's a little sassy for me. I was like, I wasn't feeling it. And I never finished it. I was like, I didn't like it. It wasn't my Dante. I was like, okay, cool. And then of course, all the, things I had heard were the same things. I was like, you know what? Not for me. So that was one of the games that I've just had on my radar that I was like, I need to go back and try this again because I don't think that I gave it a fair shot. And sure enough, went back. This is what I did. So I started this past Monday and I was like, it looks like it's roughly a 12-hour game, 12 to 15-hour game. I might be able to knock that out this week after work, every day, since I don't have to do anything but come home and hang out with the dogs. So, and dude, I put it in and I couldn't turn it off. Like, it clicked. It was just what I needed in the moment. Hack and slash, super fun. The combo system's great. Story was awesome. Telling a prequel to Devil May Cry, essentially. And then the story with your brother Virgil, so good. And then that whole thing with Lilith and Mundus's child and everything. Like, I had no idea any of that was in there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was awesome. Awesome game. It was just oozes with style. I mean, it is so Devil May Cry. It's ridiculous. So totally enjoyed it. I'm going to go back through and play it as Virgil on PS4. But right now I'm playing the PS3 version of DMC because I never finished it. So I started a brand new game. I didn't even try to download my save file. I was like, you know what? The game's fun. I'm going to play through it. It's fresh on me. Like I know what the game is and I know, how to play. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. So I'm just, matter of fact, while we're podcasting, when I'm not talking, I'm just kind of smashing away and playing through it. So enjoying that. Outside of that, the only other thing I think I really need to bring up, and it might be old news. I might have already mentioned it. Did I beat SpongeBob Hero Pants?
Yeah, I think you said. I don't know if you said it on the show. I know you beat it this week.
All right, so I beat SpongeBob Hero Pants. I started Senra Kagura Peach Beach Splash, and it's not good. This is one of the games that one of our patrons pledged, a Patreon producer at the time pledged for me to play, and I've made it through all the games I've been pledged to play up to this point. This is my 4th or 5th one, I'm not sure. I've already been warned that I'm getting ready to get tagged again next month, so February I'm going to get hit again. But I'm playing through Senra Kagura Peach Beach Splash, and I beat the kind of the opening tutorial area and maybe the first mission. It's broke down into like each, I guess, event is broke down into 10 missions or whatever. Not a great game. It's not great. I'm not loving it. So this is one I'll beat. I'll do my review on, but as my first initial take on it is I'm not so hot on it. And then the only other thing I guess I need to mention, maybe I didn't mention it last show because I did it on Sunday, is I platinum Sims 4. So maybe I did say that. I don't know.
No, I don't think you did, because if you did last Sunday, there would have been no time to say it because we haven't done a show since.
There you go. So yep, I did. I platinum Sims 4. It's a slog. Not a good game. I never liked Sims games. I specifically did this one for the trophy competition we were in for the GTTSC, the Great True Trophies score competition. We were eliminated Monday at 11. So unfortunately, I platinumed The Sims 4 for absolutely nothing. And I spent way too many hours trying to get some of these buggy trophies to pop. So definitely have some trophy tips for that one. The first tip would be don't play it. The second tip would be if you do play it and you're planning on going for the platinum, there's the buggiest trophy on the list is called Channel Surfer. And basically what you have to do is you have to create like one of the best TVs and one of the best stereo systems. And you have to listen to every radio station, and you have to watch every television show.
What?
Yeah, and it's frustrating because I did it for literal hours, Joe. I actually sent a picture to our trophy competition group that I'm in, where I had every single radio, every single version of every single radio lined up on the side of a house, and I had every radio station playing, and it wouldn't pop. And it's so aggravating. And I made different versions of the TVs and they wouldn't pop. And one of the things you got to do that's also frustrating is you have to destroy old tech to get the materials you need to upgrade the stuff. It's not like it's a quick, spawn in a TV and then you get the trophy. You have to deconstruct things to get the tech so that you can boost these things up to get extra channels. And so what I did was I found people have uploaded families that you can download that have like lots of money and have like different people with different skills. So so you don't have to spend hundreds of hours to platinum the game. You can spend, 6 to 10 hours to platinum the game. Like some of the trophy guides said you can do it in less than 6 hours. I don't know. I just don't see it. Everyone in my group had 6 to 10 hours in it because some of these trophies were buggy and they just wouldn't pop. So with this one in particular, the trophy tip would be once you build the radio and once you build the TV, you need to switch to the channels on the television, switch to the channel. And then when you go to switch to the next channel, turn the TV off. And then when you turn it off, it will automatically switch to the next channel you selected. That might not make sense if you haven't played The Sims, but essentially you get almost like a queue, like a command queue, where it's like, I want you to do this, and then I want you to do this, and then I want you to do this, and it'll do it in real time. So what you'll do is like turn on the action channel, and then turn on the comedy channel, and then turn off. And then so what it'll do is it'll turn on the action channel, turn the TV off, turn it back on to the channel you want to see, and then do that for all the channels. Then for the radio, you click the radio station you want to listen to, and then you turn it off, and then when you go back to your commands, it'll say listen to, and then it'll have like the last radio station you chose. If you click that command instead of just cycling through what you want to listen to, it will work. The trophy will pop. And what I did was I went into some of these forum sites and I put on there exactly what I did because this frustrated me so bad. And I started reading conversations where people were like, yeah, so I did this, I did this, I did this. And I found a couple different methods, but when my method worked, I was like, okay, this is legit what you got to do. So yeah, definitely stay away from Sims 4 unless you just are a sucker for punishment and you want a 6-hour platinum that's just not worth your time. So, but for me, I popped a bunch of the Sims trophies for an event we were in for the competition. And then to try to keep us in the competition, because we were getting ready to get eliminated, I was like, I got to get a high score in platinum. This is the closest one I've got primed up. And we ended up losing anyways. But hey, the list is complete. I don't have to ever revisit that game again. So that's me, man. I've had a pretty good week. I've had a little bit of trash in it, like not like great quality games, But as far as like quality stuff, man, DMC, Lego DC Super Villains, Resident Evil, and Fear 3, like those are all home runs. All great games. So, you got anything else you want to add before we head on over to our leaderboards and stuff?
Nope.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to go through the leaderboards in the order I've got them brought up. We're going to start with the True Achievements leaderboard. Normally, I don't start with that one, but that's what I've got queued up first. First place, the Alpha Seagull, with 1,700 achievement points. That's a good one. It's a good week. Second place, Sony Pony to You with 710 achievement points. So Seagull was playing some Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and CJ, Sony Pony to You, was playing some Ever Forward. I never heard of that game. So third place, our own Bearded Nerd, he is in third place with 610 points, playing some Rainbow Six Extraction. So unfortunately, Zach couldn't be with us tonight because his power went out. So it sounds like he's probably getting hit with some snow, and there's a little bit of an outage. So yeah, definitely. And then we'll go ahead and read fourth place while we're at it. GDI Master Ace with 545 achievement points, playing some Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's a big game, buddy. That's a big game. So we'll bounce out of there and head over to the True Trophies leaderboards. I tried to update it. Let's see if I'll refresh one more time. There we go. Okay. First place, the Affectatious Donk with 503 trophies, still killing the GTTSC competition. So CJ and his team are going to win this thing 100%. You got Residentdarrell in second place with 96 trophies. It was a good week for me. My last couple trophies were in Fear 3. I've popped a few in DMC on PS3 yet, but I haven't seen my trophies yet. So I might have broke 100. We'll see. Redbeard Rick in third place with 71 trophies. He just beat Spider-Man Remastered. What a great version of that game.
Oh, that's the best version of that game. It's really good.
So good. It took a great game and made it greater. How do you even do that? So we got some new people in the group, in the leaderboards. Good Lord, I can't talk. I'm going to read fourth place is the Grounded Gamer. Shout out Corey for 70 trophies. He's playing some Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. And then we have a new contender, the Steigen Wolf 4. 32 trophies, playing some Life is Strange True Colors on PS4. I want to give a shout out to Steigen Wolf. I hope I'm saying that right. So that's very awesome. I love seeing new people in the group, man. I love seeing new people in the leaderboard, because that really, when you jump into the leaderboard, that means you're not only listening, but you want to participate in the festivities. So it's very cool. Very cool. There's a few other ones I haven't noticed in a while. So we got Dad_Ruiner in here. Shout out to Dad Ruiner. And then I think we've already shouted out the Belgian Brawler before, because he's made it into the top. So if you are in the leaderboards, thank you so much for joining in. We love to shout you guys out just for playing your games. You ain't got to be super competitive like CJ, someone who's working hard every day to stay at the top of the leaderboards. You can be a casual like us. Dress casual. So the last community leaderboard I'm going to read out will be our backlog beatdown, the BLB3. In first place, we have CJ with 28 points. Straight killing the game. I don't care what anybody says. You play what you want. All right. We set very fair and very enjoyable rules, accessible rules for everybody. So, you guys follow in that. Definitely keep posting your points. I don't want anyone to back out. I don't want anyone to bail, because some people are criticizing what they're playing. Let everybody do their thing.
Trophy.
Wow. I got Residentdarrell in second place with 25 points. I'm coming for the gold. I'm coming for the top this year. I'm not losing my own event ever again. So freaking beat some games this year. All right. In third place, we have Diego with 21 points. We were actually tied a lot this week. And then I was managed to pull out ahead, knocking out some games. See, when most of my family has COVID, we can't go and do anything. So I'm stuck here playing games, man, straight killing it. We're going to play some games all night long. Next, we got Gareth Davis with 18 points, Joseph Priestley with 12, JT with 10, Corey with 8, Noah the Builder with 8, Redbeard Rick with 8, and Zach Ledford with 8. That's a nice little tie we got going on there, fellas. Got to break it loose. Then we got Jared with 5. We got MZ with 5. We got Homer Gets Duff with 4. We got the Sondosaurus Rex. We got Alex in here with 3 points. Good to see Alex joining in. We got Yield with 3 points. Look at that. We got all the trophy horrors over here.
I hope they all beat Tricky this year.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is the goal. That is the goal for all those guys. See, Tricky, he's at a disadvantage now. We took out all the spam, so he can't. He's got to relearn how to play games. Like his gaming history shows, he can do it, but he's just relied on spam for so long. He's got to relearn. It's like learning how to walk again. So. We got Jim in here with 2 points. I'm styling on you, bro, with 2 points. James the Nerd and John Michael, Kalai, Levi, Spider Pax, and Tricky all with 2 points. So shout out to John Michael. We've had him on the show. We call him Game Squat. He actually just beat Control and was having a
great
blast.
Game. Shout out to him. Awesome.
Yeah, dude. He was coming off of almost like a gaming mental breakdown where he had played so many consecutive open world games that were so huge that he burned himself out. And
don't do that, bro. Don't do that.
He did the same thing Frosty did, man. Played all these big games back to back to back and then switched over and just started playing Magic. So John Michael has found a love for shorter, more narrative-driven games, and he is just—it's good seeing him excited again because we work together. So he comes into work, he's like, "Oh, dude, oh my god, I played Control. I saw this boss. I did this thing." So shout out to John Michael for what I'm saying, getting on the board, man. It's good to see that happened. So that was our backlog beatdown. If you're listening to the show and you're new to the Loot Bros, and you want to participate in any of those things that you just heard, whether it be the Loot Bros leaderboard or it be the backlog beatdown, this is all you got to do. Go into the Facebook groups and just post screenshots of the games you beat. We'll add you to the backlog beatdown. Just use the hashtag BLB3. All right. We have YouTube videos or YouTube ripouts of the rules. We've got a backlog beatdown 3 event with the all the information in there. Excuse me, a Facebook group with all the information in there. And, if the campaign of a game or the story of a game is over an hour, it counts. If the platinum or 100% is over 5 hours or more, that counts as points. The way the points breakdown works is if a game came out in 2022, it is 1 point. And if a game came out before 2022, it can be eligible for 2 points. All you got to do is post screenshots of your trophy stamps or your completion credits of the game, and we will count it and log it in. What do you think about that, Joe?
I think all those rules sound great, and we're not changing them, so suck it. Hello?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I have my mic muted. So my kids were fussing behind me, so I muted my mic.
It's like you just cut out. I was like, oh, well, whatever.
No, my kids were fussing behind me, and I was I muted my mic, and I kept clicking the button, but I don't know. I guess I hit the button so much.
It's all good. It's like my dude Road Dog and Billy Gunn always said. We got rules for you, and if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you. Suck it.
That's right. If you're not
changing them.
That's right. And it's all for fun, man. It's all for fun, baby. I'm
not going through this every time. We're not changing the rules.
Never changing. Never gonna change them. All right, so
no exceptions.
We had just one community question this week, and that is from our boy Matt G. And he wrote it in because our guest is coming up later in the show.
It was definitely for our guest.
Well, unfortunately, the conversation was going so well, I didn't think about working it in. So my bad, Matt. But we're going to answer your question here because we both have some stories that we want to tell, I'm sure. So Matt writes in, he goes, what is the what was your Holy Grail is what we're going to call it? Yeah. The Holy Grail of your collection, like a toy or game, action figure, whatever. What is something you have, Joe, that's like your most prized possession?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Because do I go with price or do I go with what it means to me?
Do both.
I mean, if I go by price, I don't know. I have multiple copies of Fire Emblem, Radiant Dawn. They're a couple $100. I have a copy of Lunar Silver Star Story. That's worth $100. I would say my most prized game that I own is my copy of Disgaea, because it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I actually have my original box for it. I don't have the original disc, unfortunately, because I sold it. But for some reason, that's when I was in my phase where I was putting my games in, like, when you used to put your games in like sleeves.
Yep.
And everyone was in that phase of like, oh, you can carry more games in a sleeve book, and then just carry the book with you. You don't have to carry all these cases. Yeah. So I have the original case, but don't have the original. I have a PS2 Classics version of the disc. Unfortunately, I would love to go and find an original version of it, but that my DS copy of Disgaea. Those are probably my two favorite games in my collection, or my holy grail pieces. Yeah.
So just
Nothing
to be
crazy.
clear, Matt's actual question was, do we have any niche toy or game collections that we're particularly proud of? But I could not, in the moment, get my notes to load. So I was
awesome. Well, I'll answer that one then.
so I was trying my best to shoot from the hip without stopping the show because it would just load. But yeah. So yeah. Anything.
So I collect wrestling figures, but I think my favorite niche figures that I collect are these. So Hasbro came out with, or not Hasbro, Mattel came out with these retro inspired WWE figures that took all the modern wrestlers and made them into Hasbro figures, basically. Like, the ones that had like the like punching arm or the body slam or the karate chop.
Oh yeah.
They made like they made like Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman and John Cena in those style of figures, and they're my favorite. I actually kickstarted not kickstarted. I did the Mattel's Creation Factory, where they sell like packages of figures, but they're like, you have to like basically kickstart them. So I did the retro set for that, and you get like a Cowboy Bob Orton, Mean Gene Okerlund, Roddy Piper, and I can't remember who the fourth person is, but there's 4 people in the set, and it was like $50. It was very doable. $50 for 4 figures was a pretty good deal. They all come mint on card too, in a package. So they come in a box and then individually packaged in a mint on card, like they would look if they were like sold in stores. So they're doing one collection and they're doing another one in the fall.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah, I like them a lot. And then the only other thing I could say that's obscure is like either my Neca monster, my Neca villains collection that I have, my horror villains collection that I have. I have Chucky from Child's Play. I have Ghostface from Scream. I have Freddy, Jason. I get like the major ones that I like, but I like those. They're expensive though. They're like $30 a figure. I think that's expensive. I know, like, that's kind of why I haven't really been collecting figures as much as I used to. They're just getting way too expensive.
Yeah, I feel that, dude. And what's crazy is like I spend so much money on video games and stuff that like I have a hard time spending an equal amount of money on action figures, especially since my kids are starting to kind of grow out of them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of been a little more specific on what we do and don't buy in the house. As for me personally, my niche toy or game collections that I'm proud of would be, I have like a decent PlayStation Vita collection. Like I didn't go crazy and buy everything, and it's niche because obviously Vita wasn't a huge system or anything. But I have like the stuff that I was interested in or the stuff that I really enjoyed, like I've got like a much larger collection of every other system, it seems like, but I've got a good 50 or so Vita games. And then as far as figures go, like, and I say this later on in the interview, but I do have the majority of the KB Toy Resident Evil figures. I actually might have them all. I don't remember anymore, but I know I had them all at one point in time and my house burnt down. So I've bought, some replacement figures. I've got a bunch of them still in the box, and I've got a whole giant bin of them that were loose. And I was buying eBay lots of them for a while and then going to the flea market and finding them. And every now and again I'd find like a liquor with like missing his tongue. Or one time I found Jill Valentine in the box for $5.
Whoa, that's a good deal.
At the flea market, dude. I'm not even kidding you. They had no clue what they had. They were it was just some person who had a bunch of random stuff on their table. It was like, oh, it was a $5 Jill Valentine. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. And so I really want. I'll give
you $3 for it.
Sometimes, dude. Sometimes I'll haggle.
You still gotta haggle. You always gotta haggle. You gotta practice them haggling skills. That's
dude, my haggle's strong.
That's my just a tip for everybody here. Even if you find a steal on something and you know that the person doesn't know what they have, you still gotta haggle because you gotta keep them haggle skills strong. You just do,
dude.
You never know what they're gonna say.
Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I gotta move fast. You know what I'm saying? So you said $5, $5's on the table, things in my bag. Every now and again, I'll do the haggle, right? Especially, well, I say every now and again. The majority of the time I do the haggle. But one time in particular, I picked up a sealed copy of Final Fantasy VIII on PS1.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the greatest hits version. I don't think it's the original. But even still, this lady had on her table, sealed in the wrapper, and she's like, $10. I was like, I'll give you $8. And she's like, sure. And my brother looked like he was about to throw up. He was like, I can't believe you just got that. I mean, I bought it right in front of him too, and he totally would have bought it, you know. But like $8 for a sealed in the box Final Fantasy VIII. He was like, I hate you. I was like, the only thing that would have made it better if it was Final Fantasy VII, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's because that lady didn't know what she had.
No, she had no clue.
That's like when I watch those videos on YouTube, and those guys are like, "Man, I just bought I bought everything off this lady's table for $40, and it's like a 3DS, a Switch, and they like don't know what they have."
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's like, yeah, you're taking advantage of whatever the seller, but it's like,
well, they were going to sell it regardless. So it's whether they sell it to you or they sell it to somebody else.
I always feel like it doesn't matter because even if they did know what they had, they're trying to move it. That's what yard sale people are trying to do.
Yep.
They don't care.
Absolutely. So, and the only other question we got, and this is the last thing we got for the evening until the interview will be, JT writes in and he goes, how do you 100% Nintendo games without the adrenaline of an achievement system?
Oh, I can answer this one. So I think it's a different beast. And it's a much more laid back beast because while there's still like a goal and an end game, I just feel like it's a much more natural goal and end game, Darrell. It's not the same as like going for a platinum, or it's just a 100% old school, 100% completion. Like you gotta be in it to win it. There's nothing pushing you to get the 100% except your actual enjoyment for the game.
Yep.
Your pure enjoyment for the game is all that's going to push you to get, to be a completionist on a Nintendo console. And that's okay. Like, I think that's great that people want to, complete Nintendo games or any game that they play. But for me, like people ask me, like, why do you just keep playing Hyrule Warriors? What drives you to just keep playing the game over and over again? And what is driving you to want to complete the game? It's because I love the game. Like, if I didn't love playing a game, I wouldn't play it. And I say, like, I don't think that's true for PlayStation. There's been a lot of crap I've just played for trophies. Like, I'll be real. And even when I play remasters, I don't always. Do you always watch all the cutscenes every game you play, or like when you play a remaster, do you skip through it?
It depends, man. So like I'll give you an example. Resident Evil, I've seen those cutscenes 1,000 times, but I like them, so I'll watch them. With Devil May Cry DMC, I just literally played through the game, saw all the cutscenes. So like right now, I'm skipping the cutscenes and just getting to the action.
That's fine. I mean, I think it's everyone plays their own way, and I don't think anybody should be shit on for the way they want to do play how you want to play is what I have to say. But like, I just think it takes a different kind of person to play a Nintendo game to completion than it does a trophy hunter, because again, there's nothing driving you to that end goal except your pure enjoyment for the game. And I would say, like, there's usually never a good completionist bonus at the end. That's what I've always learned, and that's what I've learned by watching like the completionist show. Is like, it's never, the juice is not always worth the squeeze, as they say. So
yeah,
like I don't think you get anything for completing Hyrule Warriors except beating it, or 100%ing it except 100%ing it. There's nothing else.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
I'll tell you how much of a broken person I am, Joe. I played Resident Evil 5 on the Switch last year. And I loved it. It was awesome. It plays great. It looks amazing on the Switch screen. I was playing in my truck, just sitting on my lunch breaks, just having a good time. And I love Resident Evil 5. Like, it is just one of my all-time favorite games. Comfort food. I've said all the things I've said on the show for so many years.
It is such a okay, so that's where the divide starts, right? Don't get me wrong. That's where the real divide starts between fans. Is Resident Evil 5. That's where
technically 4. Realistically, even though it was so critically well received, the hardcore don't like the. So you've got the fixed camera fans. You've got the third person over shoulder fans. You got the first person fans. You've got the horror plus puzzle fans. You've got the horror plus action fans, and then you've got the first person scare jump scare fans. And there's always a divide. Now that we have it's essentially 3 major franchise, our mainline changes. There's a group for each of them. But yeah, 5 is where it really started to go off the rails because there weren't any real scary parts in 5. 5 was really built on the co-op system,
which was amazing. They did an amazing job with that game. And I don't even think they even touched how good that co-op system was in 6, because 6 didn't really make you have to do co-op segments where you needed to rely on the other person as much as 5 did.
I agree.
And I think that's what set 5 apart from 6. And I love 5. I have such fond memories. It was so. I didn't have, when I lived at my mom's house back in the day, we didn't have internet at my mom's house because it was like before everybody had internet, before you had to have internet. So like I would steal my neighbor's internet because they never locked it, and that's how I play Resident Evil 5 online with my friends.
That is amazing.
until my neighbors found out and knocked on my door and told my mom told me to cut it out. And that's when I paid for my internet on my own for the first time.
That's amazing. Well, to get back to the reason why I brought Resident Evil 5 up is the Switch port has the Xbox achievement system in it. So when you do the task that would get an achievement pop, it pops up just like, I don't know, maybe it's the PC version. Either way, it's
really,
you get an achievement. It says achievement unlocked, and it has like a little pop up in there. I think it's the PC port. Now that I'm thinking back on it, but either way, and it's there, and it's cool, and it's like, oh man, I get my little dingy, my little dopamine rush. But the problem is, there's nowhere outside of in game to view that.
Oh, there isn't? Even though they pop, there's nowhere.
Right. Like you can go in the game.
Screen. There's no screen that you can go and check.
With like a whole 100% list or anything like that.
No way. There has to be, because why would they pop if there's no?
Dude, I don't know, man.
Is that something they just didn't take out of the game?
That was my thing. I think they left it in the game. But like, what I'm saying is, I mean, there's like menus in the game where you see the things that you can and can't unlock. But like, there's no, because you have to buy figures and things like that. But like, there's no, like, outside of the game itself, like there's nowhere to view that stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's no, they pop, but they don't do anything, And this is that's how broken I am. I could go for the pop because I know what to do to make them all pop. But I was like, it's not worth it. I just don't want to do it. Like, even on a game that I love so much, I don't want 100% on that platform, because at the end of the day, wow. At the end of the day, it's just, it's for nothing, like it doesn't amount to anything. It's just like, oh, I did it. And, I don't know. I'm so deep into the trophy and achievement system that like, it's gotta be for something or I can't do it. So, but that's just me being broken. So
I don't think it's you being broken. I just think it's the way you prefer to play now. Your play style has changed. Like the way you see gaming has changed due to trophies and achievements. And I feel like a lot of ours have, because that's how we play games now. It's like when people look at Nintendo, like, oh man, the only thing Nintendo really lacks is a achievement system. And if they had an achievement system, it'd be like, oh man, they'd be up with the big boys. And a lot of people believe that. Like that's what sets them apart, that they still don't have a trophy or achievement system.
I mean, we're getting close to 20 years of having this kind of stuff now. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't have too much longer. And I will have been playing for trophies and achievements longer than I played before that, So, yeah, because like 2006 is when the Xbox 360 came out, and that's when the achievement system launched. So, we're not too far away from that. But either way, that is all we have for community questions. Thank you guys so much for writing in. Thank you all for listening. And we are going to head over to our interview. Joe, it's been a good show, man.
Yeah, man. Blue Bros Podcast. Gonna talk about video games and mow your grass. Blue Bros Podcast. We're going to slurp and talk about penises.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros Podcast. I'm your host, Residentdarrell, and tonight I got Johnson, Jam, and Joe.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And we've been teasing it. We've been promoting it. We've been talking to you guys saying that we are going to have Jay Bartlett from the Nintendo Quest documentary on the show. We got him here tonight. Jay, how are you doing?
What's up, brothers? I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it. I think we've been booked for about a month or so now. So Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be great. You guys seem like a bunch of fun dudes.
Man, we try. We appreciate the kind words. And so before we get into all the business, I will put all the links to all the things that you do and, links to where we can see your work into the show description. So Jay, why don't you kind of start us off and tell everybody I know the Nintendo Quest isn't the only thing you're known for. So why don't you kind of take a minute, get yourself acquainted with our audience and let everybody know what it is you do and where they might know you from.
Nintendo Quest was kind of our first endeavor. Way back in 2013, we started shooting that. And I say we, being my partner, my teammate, I should say, who's Rob McCallum. He's just a wonderful filmmaker. And he called me because he knows I'm an avid collector of many things. And he's like, hey, dude, I want to do a collecting doc. Do you want to be involved? I'm like, yeah, so what's it about? And he basically said, I want to follow 3 collectors around. You know how you guys go to game stores and comic book shops, once a week or once a month, right? You guys do that, I'm sure, kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So he's like, I want to follow 3 collectors around your weekly or monthly routes and just to see. And I'm like, yeah. And then we kind of brainstormed. I'm like, that's kind of cool, but that's not very interesting, which is hilarious because that's what YouTube is now, right? Is pick up videos and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I didn't think it was that interesting of a premise. And then we kind of tweaked it a bit, and he wrote this idea. He's like, basically, how would you like to try and do it in 30 days? And I'm like, do what? He's like, get everything, get all of the games. And I was like, well, I knew if I said yes to it, I would have to do it on some level. So I had to, think about it financially, think about it psychologically, because it sounds fun, guys, but oh, dude, it's so stressful. Everything is real, nothing is scripted. So as soon as we started filming, there was 30 days for my portion. So, sometimes I had to work my day job, sometimes I couldn't make it. And so I think it boiled down to 17 days on the road.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't a full 30 days. I couldn't just leave my job and kind of just be like, well, I'll see you later, world. I'll be back in 30 days. No, it wasn't like that at all. Anyway, so we came up with the idea to shrink it down a bit just to make it more, a little more focused for the audience. So we decided to do the retail releases. So the games that were 1 licensed and 2 retail releases. So this excluded Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, which was a blockbuster rental. A lot of the Bible games, the unlicensed stuff, the Tenjin stuff, that stuff didn't count. Thank goodness.
I forgot all about the Bible game where you gotta Noah's Ark, you gotta go get all the little animals and stuff. That's hilarious.
Yeah, as made famous by James Rolfe. Yeah, his videos on that early stuff are just great. So we came down to the number of 678, which, I've gone back and forth with, professional gamers and stuff. And they say that's not the number. That's the number we came up with, was 678 licensed retail NES carts. And there we go.
Dude,
that's how we begin.
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the documentary. There's a few things that really stuck out to me that I want to ask you some questions about. But
sure.
We'll get there eventually. I kind of want to since you did Nintendo Quest, now what other things have you done? What other things can people check out?
That's funny because it's it's funny when you shoot something. It seems like a lifetime ago. I know it was released in 2015, but it seems like such a long time ago. Right after that, we shot the tour. So we toured the film around North America. So we shot individual episodes where we went to video game stores within the city we're in. So LA, Vegas, etc. Austin, Houston. And Rob and I had kind of a little bet going where he had 5 games to get and I had 5 games to get. And it was whoever got the list. It was more diluted. Wasn't as serious. So that's called the Nintendo Quest Power Tour. And that one's just a riot. It's a lot more, we're a lot more relaxed for that one. As of recently, I have a show on TV here called Action Figure Adventure, which is me working closely with the charity that I believe in, which is the Children's Health Foundation, which is basically the children's hospital here in Ontario, Canada. And so it's the same premise. I go around and collect Holy Grail items using my own money. At the end of the season, we auction them off, and all the proceeds go to Children's Health Foundation. So there's that.
Very
and
cool.
at the same time, on the same network, we have the Jay and Rob Toy Show, which is a professionally shot podcast. It's just Rob and I talking about toys. So those are the main bread and butter right there.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I wanted to just kind of touch on something real fast, and then I'm going to turn things over to Joe. Joe's going to drive the show the majority of the time. He's, like I said, he's our resident Nintendo guy. And it was, thanks to Joe for reaching out to you, having you on. So I don't want to hog up too much of the conversation, but I did want to ask, there's a point in time in the Nintendo Quest documentary where you mention being in a band and you actually have someone in your band. It says one of Jay's bandmates. In the mix of the conversation, what are you still playing music? I mean, is it what was the band name and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's my buddy Joe. Oddly enough, there you go. So popular name.
There you go.
Joe's still in my band to this day. It's a new iteration. We're kind of just doing covers and messing around. I'm a drummer by trade, so since I was 13, I'm in my 40s now, and I've always been a drummer. And this year, picked up the guitar again. So now I'm the guitarist in this new band, and he's the drummer. So it's a lot of fun. So this one we're going to get into writing eventually, but right now it's just jamming on cover songs. As you know, with the state of the world, you can't exactly go out and get gigs now. So we're kind of just doing basement jamming and stuff like that. And the band back then was called Astoria.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Did you guys at the time do any kind of touring or any, play a bunch of gigs and stuff like that? Or was it a jam band?
We were doing 2 to 3 gigs a week almost, just touring around Ontario, nothing, worldwide or anything crazy like that. But, oh man, it was so fun. I love being on the road, as you can tell. It's one of my favorite things. I just love going to new cities, new towns, and just the culture shock of, being in somewhere like LA and then going to somewhere like, Texas. It's completely different.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that, though. I enjoy all walks of life. So, yeah, I miss doing that stuff.
Heck yeah. It's funny because as I was watching the documentary, I'm like, man, this is very much like being on tour. I've been in a band for years, and we've traveled. We've traveled all over the place, man. We went all up and down the Southeast. We've gone to the Midwest, played a giant festival in Bushnell, Illinois with some huge bands, thousands of people there. Wow. And so we got to do a lot of cool stuff. And I'm sitting there watching it, and like a lot of the, the candid footage of you guys in the van and talking, or even in the hotel rooms and stuff. I'm sitting there just like, oh man, that's like these guys are touring, but they're touring to pick up games. Like, this is freaking awesome.
It was, and then we toured to promote the movie, which I don't want to say was more fun. Like I said earlier, it was more relaxing. But we got to go to each theater, and it was really cool for me because Rob, we didn't get, but we had Mark Hamill's, Don't Talk during the movie promo showing before every single one of our screenings. Awesome. So that meant a lot to me. Yeah. Man, I miss music. I sympathize with you. It's above anything else. Video games, toys, music is my number one. It's my favorite thing to do, hands down.
Yeah, same here, man. Like, it's funny actually. I got a house full of COVID infectees, and we're
yeah.
supposed to be in the studio tomorrow night. My drummer, he has a large portion of his house renovated and turned into a recording studio.
Oh, cool.
And we took several years off of playing once we all started having kids and stuff. And the past few years, we've been rewriting some of our older songs, re-recording them, re-releasing them every couple months, and we're not doing any kind of gigs or any kind of like, definitely no kind of traveling right now until this album's done. And it has just been taking, so it's crazy because like we started this thing off at the end of 2019. We like made an announcement post. We're like, here's a song we did, like a Christmas song. We got like 10,000 plays on Spotify in no time. It was crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. And
it's quite an achievement.
Well, I mean, it died after that because it was like,
Yeah.
It was a year almost before we released another song because our drummer got COVID. I got COVID, and just our vocalist ended up getting COVID. I mean, granted, these are all like a few months apart from each other, but he was touring in a band at the time, a little Irish folk band. And so it was really hard to navigate anyways, because since we weren't his main source of travel and his other band was making him a lot more money than we ever made, it just got really difficult. So here we are 2 years later, still recording the same album, but now it's like, and I know this as a musician, it's like once you start something and then you don't finish it, you give yourself so much time to go back and, I want to change this. I want to change this.
It's almost too much time, right?
Yeah.
Because you're picking the melodies apart, and you're like, it's never going to resolve. I just gotta gotta put out the final song. I'm an old school rock dude. I like all genres of music, but rock's my favorite. And you always see people on Facebook and stuff. They make fun of Motley Crue and Kiss and the good old boys. And you'll understand this, right? The reason these guys are 70 plus still on stage is because you literally can't stop.
Right.
You can't stop playing music, right? So I don't ever blame those guys for still getting up there, right? It's something that's in you, especially when you play live. Playing on stage is like a rush unlike anything. It's just an incredible feeling, right? So
dude, it's so funny you say that, man, because like we went 6 years without playing, and then since we've been back in the studio writing the past couple of years, we keep talking about like, oh man, we need to do this, and this. And you get so amped, you get so hyped up. And like today, I'm sitting there folding laundry. And I don't know if any of you guys are like Asking Alexandria fans.
I've never heard of them.
Okay, so they were, I don't know if you want to call them an emo,
they're more metalcore.
Yeah, they were like that synth wave of metalcore that came through, that like everybody was kind of adding a little bit of synth and stuff to their breakdowns and stuff. Well, they went through that phase, and now since 2017, some of their albums have been way more rock influenced, and it's so good, and the I don't want to say the progression, but like just the maturity of the songwriting and the vocalist's talent, it's just changed so much. And so I didn't realize this, but last year they put another album out, and I'm like, man, I heard a couple songs off of it, but I didn't know it was out yet. So like all weekend long, I've just had the last 3 albums, this most recent one, on repeat. And
great.
You just get in the zone, man. I just can feel my heart racing. Like some of these riffs and some of these melodies, I'm just like, oh my God, I need to be on stage again, because when you feel that, it's like, it's addictive.
Learning guitar at 40, and I shouldn't say I'm starting from scratch. I played a little bit in the 90s, but I was always a drummer. And when I picked up the guitar, okay, this is a sappy story. This was it's actually just last month where I learned this song. I started in August, and I picked it up, and I wanted to start doing solos. I'm like, what do I want to do? I'm like, well, John Lennon is my favorite. I'm like, the first solo I want to learn is a John Lennon solo. So I learned to get back on guitar.
Jay, you a Beatles fan?
Oh, yeah.
So am I.
So then I figured out the John Lennon solo for Get Back. And as soon as I completed that, I had like tears in my eyes. It was like the most amazing feeling of all time, man. So, I mean, we could talk about music forever. We really could.
So, all right. Well, okay. So I got my first question out of the way. I wanted to ask about music. Joe, the guest is all yours now.
So, Jay, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. I know we talked for a few years now, back and forth on Messenger, just, shooting the shit and just kind of like talking about different things. But I love Nintendo Quest. Like, I've watched it probably like 20 or 30 times. Like, seriously, you and Rob made something very special to me because it harkens back to a time when you could go and do something like that. You can go out and collect games like that. And what's your take on that? Like collecting games in general, and how it's changed so much since the time you guys recorded that.
Well, we kind of shot just as all this like counterfeit and bootleg carts started coming out. I remember in Toronto, which is 2 hours from me here, which is kind of our big city in Ontario, we ran across a stadium events that was, a reproduction cart, and it was labeled such. They weren't trying to fool anybody, but that's, we really just beat all this counterfeit stuff. And if we shot it today, I mean, I don't think we could have. I mean, who can afford to do that now? James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, I think is very much responsible for breathing life back into this. I mean, his early stuff all his videos are great, but his early stuff, I remember, wow, this guy's making videos on these old 8-bit games. Like, who cares about that? When he would put out like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde video or whatever he put out that week, I would go and check out the cart prices and they would shoot up. They would just explode in value, right? Because everyone wanted the game that he was kind of talking about. I gotta say, a lot of the game collecting culture it's completely different. It's not the same in my eyes. I know a lot of video game collectors who have bailed completely on the hobby. When you go to when you go to a store or a seller and you want to buy like a little Samson or something like that, and the first thing is to not talk about the game and be excited with the seller, you're worried about cracking open the board and looking at the board. That's no fun. And I think that unfortunately it's like all these things, there's people that are out to rip people off, and it's just a real shame.
So on to piggyback off of what you're saying about cracking open the board and stuff, like I'm a game collector, but not like there's a certain point that I just don't typically go behind, and usually I'm like PS1 and up. Like I don't shoot for full runs. I shoot for things that I enjoy. Like there's games that I like. Now, don't get me wrong, Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, stuff like that. Like I've been buying in bulk, and in the back of my head I'm like, maybe one day finish the collection. I don't know. I've got a lot, but dude, I used to go to the flea markets around here every Saturday and Sunday morning with my dad. That was always been my whole life. That's like what we do. He collects movies like these guys in your documentary, and like these avid collectors. My dad has thousands of movies.
Very cool.
It's ridiculous, man. His whole, like, he's got like a split level home, and like the whole lower level of his house is just movies. And so we'll go to the flea market together, and that's just like that's what we do. That's our time together. And so I buy a ton of games, and there's these guys there. We call them the Sharks, but like they're like your video game nemesis. I think it was JD or whatever his name was in the documentary. Yeah, they're like
JB, right?
Yeah. They're like that, you know what I'm saying? Like the Sharks are our nemesis because they're always there with their little scanners trying to see what things are going for online, and they're scooping stuff up to resell it, and we're over here trying to scoop stuff up just to have it. And I talked with those guys, and they said the same thing, man. Like some of these guys are like, man, I used to have a store. I used to have an eBay store. He's like, but you will sell like a NES or even a game. He said, and then the customer will get it and then complain that it's not legit, and they'll ship it back to you after they get their refund, and they've taken the motherboards out and they've replaced them with counterfeit ones, And he's like,
I've never heard that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. He said on the seller's end, that like he gets ripped off as much as the collectors get ripped off on the purchasing end. It was pretty fascinating to see, like, even the Sharks get hit with this new wave of just crazy collecting and counterfeit, stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of that. I'm primarily in the toy space now. So you see that when the newest wave of what, Masters of the Universe figures come out or whatever, you go to a Walmart or, a place like that, and these dudes will clear the pegs, they'll take every single figure. And it's, you don't need, I could see, if you're hardcore, you buy one to keep in the box and one to open. We all know that thing, right? But these guys are buying like 5 trap jaws, 5 man-at-arms. It's like, what do you need 5 for? Oh, yeah, because you're selling, right? You find that everywhere. I almost wished it was kind of like the infancy of, let's say, the internet again, where when Dreamcast ran supreme in like 98, 99, and a burned game, you could tell because it was a blank disc and it said, Crazy Taxi. And it was like, you know what? You just buy this little boot disc and you can play this bootleg of Crazy Taxi. I don't condone that, but at least you knew that's what it was, right? They couldn't fool anybody, Now with, the way things get printed out and stuff, like these labels are insane. The NES cart labels are crazy, like these counterfeit ones. Yeah.
Dude, so you mentioned going to Walmarts and stuff and clearing out the shelves. The other guitar player in our band, shout out Justin Joy. He is a Ninja Turtle. So he collects Star Wars figures and Ninja Turtle figures.
Oh, I got out early. I got out the Ninja Turtles collecting scene. It's
dude,
ridiculous.
He says it's so bad right now. We were at his house not too long ago, just jamming. Like we all grabbed our gear. So like, he dipped out of our band kind of early, into our years, but we'll grab our gear, go over there, let all our kids play, we'll jam or whatever. And we're over there. I mean, this dude's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of figures. There's like, he's got this giant, what used to be like a 3-car garage that's like sealed, like walled in and like a sunken den now. And there's no space on the walls. Like he's got stands and shelves and everything in there. I mean, it's just stuff everywhere. And it's awesome. But like he was explaining to me like just how difficult it is. Like there's certain mornings of the week where he goes, yeah, I'll have to get up at 5 a.m, drive a few towns over. And there's certain stops where like I know when the truck's going to be there. And if I don't get there early, these guys will come in and buy everything. And I won't even get the figures that I'm needing to finish my collection.
Oh man, that reminds me so much of like collecting like WWE figures back in the day or WWF figures back in the day when you had to like show up when the truck was there to get what you wanted, because if you didn't, you weren't getting it. You were getting like Peg Warmer Stone Cold. They had like 20 of in the box. It's just
yeah. I mean, tell your buddy Justin, and Justin, if you're listening, divorce yourself from having to have every single figure, man. You drive yourself crazy doing that. I mean, do what you got to do. If it makes you happy to drive 2 towns over at 5 a.m, dude, if that's part of your thing. No, I'm being serious. Some people like the adventure of that, right?
I know. Absolutely. It's the hunt. Like they can't do the eBay thing.
If that's your thing, sure. But I mean, there's a difference between hunting for something and being stressed out because you have to beat people there. You know what I mean? Because that there's going to be scalpers there. They're going to take everything. Just chill, man. And the thing is, with the toy community, first is everything, right? That's on YouTube. That's everything. So whoever gets the new Stone Cold Austin figure, the first person to put it on YouTube gets all the views. It means they get all the money. Same thing. The first people who get that Austin figure, put them on eBay, they get the most money. It's crazy, man. I let go of that stuff about a year ago, where it's just like, if I find it, I find it. If I don't, I can wait. I'm not going to stress about this stuff because it's just toys. Or just games, or just whatever, right?
So that leads me to my next question, Jay, which is how the stress level must have built making the documentary, making Nintendo Quest for those last like 13 or 14 games that you just couldn't get like in person. Or what was it? How many were you short when you finished the 30 days?
I got to be honest, man. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't know.
I don't think it was
very many. Yeah.
I think it was 21 or 20 or something like that. I think.
And I know you bought them on eBay and you just got them, right? That's how you finished the collection, if I remember.
Come on, man. You watched it like 80 times, you said. You tell me.
Hey, just a little thing. Joe's version of watching things is it is on while he's playing video games as well. So,
Hey, dude, I do that too, man. Ever since Seinfeld came on Netflix, it's 24/7 on in my house.
oh my gosh, I wish my wife would watch Seinfeld with me. I'll put it on, and she's like, "Can we please watch something else? This is so dry." I'm like, you know what? No soup for you.
Seinfeld, there's no middle ground. You either like it or you don't. That's plain as can be. It's not like, oh, it's kind of good. It's like, no, you like it or you hate it.
Yeah.
The pressure was, oh man, how do I put this? Really, it was all about stadium events. To be completely honest, I'm just my personality. I always want to get the best. I always want to go for the items that people are always like, oh, you'll never be able to do that. You'll never be able to get that. You'll never be able to find that. There's a bit of Indiana Jones in me. So as soon as I knew there was a couple different times we went across stadium events, and when I met Todd Curtis, and after I left his place, I'm trying to remember here. So I got Bonks and I got Little Samson.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged him after because he said he might be parting with his second copy of Stadium Events. Well, I kind of knew that he would give me first crack at it. It was just a matter of when and if. So that whole thing at the end with Todd, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it, but it came out like 6 years ago. So
it's beyond the spoiler.
It's worth watching. I like my honest opinion. Even if you know what happens, it's worth watching. It's very cool. Very cool.
And if I may, it's not about the video games that make it special. I think it's about the people, the friendships, and the people you meet. And anyway, so I knew that if, excuse me, I knew that I was going to have probably a crack at this. So I kind of just laid back a bit. And those other ones, I mean, I didn't do it in the 30 days, but I think I crushed the expectations because I got stadium events and I got a box and there's only 6 in existence, and that was at that time. I don't even know what the number is now, but there was only 6 at the time and I got one of them. So
that's awesome.
How did it feel to hold stadium events in your hand, like physically hold it? Like what did it feel like the first time you held it in your hand? Because it's like a video game holy grail.
It's kind of like the first time you touch a boob, Joe. You just never forget it.
It's off. Yeah, it's very much like that. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Joe was like holding it in. He's like, I don't know how he's going to react to that. Sorry.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about that the first time. That was this girl. My friend and I met these girls. We were in like grade 8. I remember we went in the forest and hung out, and that was when that happened. But anyway,
that was the first stadium event.
That was the first event. That's right. How it felt, it really the way Todd had the case, how he has his collection. You felt like Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The first scene when he's approaching the idol. Honestly, I felt like that because the room's kind of dark. There's just kind of arcade lights, and then the cabinet is just white light, and he has like lights on all the key games, which are most games in that cabinet. Holding it was great, man. But that first visit is insane because I'm holding that and I still have to go through these 2 bins on the ground of his doubles. So I'm keeping in mind, okay, there's that. I don't know if he'll sell it, but I still need Bonks. I still need Little Samson. And I can't remember if there's something else I needed. So there's a lot going through my mind then. It was crazy. So getting the games at the end through eBay was, as you could see in the movie, it's very boring. It's not interesting. It was kind of just, finishing what I started. But doing stuff that way is no fun.
Dude, I couldn't imagine trying to recreate that in 2022 outside of the counterfeit stuff. Just everything is so hinged on eBay now, which I mean, I know it was then as well, but like I was joking with Joe before you got on here. I was like, man, watching this makes me want to do a PS Vita quest. And because I'm a huge PlayStation Vita fan, but I was like, it'd be impossible. Like they're just not physically available, and the market just almost only exists for those games on eBay. And I love that was like the stipulation, like you can't go to eBay for the 30-day challenge. And it's like, man, that's freaking tough. And that
Well,
really does capture.
I mean,
go ahead.
You're kind of comparing apples to oranges. And what I mean is Vita is such a niche system, right? So that would be like trying to collect the Neo Geo carts. Like, forget that.
Yeah.
You know, you probably won't even find one store in every city that has them, right? Vita is very obscure. It'd be like collecting N-Gage, if you guys know what that is.
Oh, yes.
N-Gage carts like that. Nintendo changed video games. They brought video games back to life. And to this day, I will still stand by that's the most important console in video game history. Which is why we chose it. So, yeah, so, you know, the pop-up of all these retro shops, everyone always had NES games. So I would agree with you where I would say Vita games would be really difficult. Absolutely.
I think that I think at least in my area it would be very difficult to do the NES stuff now as well. I mean, we don't have that was one of the coolest parts about watching the documentary, and one of the things that is so exciting for me as a collector is seeing that you guys went to all these places and they were just loaded with games everywhere. I'm like, man, down here in the South, you just don't have that. It's just like there might be a small section of the most common stuff, but I don't think most of the rare games on your list, I don't think I've ever seen in my life in person.
Well, there's quite a few I never saw. I mean, I never seen Little Samson up to that point. I heard of Bonk's Adventure on NES, but I mean, you know, that was almost news to me. I mean, that was a TurboGrafx game, right? And I was like, really? They brought that out on NES, you know? And so a lot of that stuff, yeah, man, it's trying to do it today. I mean, I still go into game stores. I'm still a gamer, you know, here and there. I'm not nearly as, you know, I don't play nearly as much as I used to. But yeah, I'll glance at the NES games, and I have this weird, it's funny, I have this weird sick feeling when I look at them, like in stores. Like I'll see them, you know, piled up, and it's like a kind of a queasy, like nervous feeling when I see them.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's kind of funny. It's just like because
it's like PTSD.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, 30 days.
Sure. I can't tell you, and this is kind of hilarious. A little bit of you know, backstage info. I bought Tiger Heli, I think 4 or 5 times, just because I would just lose track. I had an app, right? You got to understand when we roll up to a store, our producer Mike and our producer Jordan, whoever was on the road for whatever leg of the tour, would go up to the store, you know, pitch what we're doing, and they either wanted to be involved or didn't, and they had to sign releases. I had to stay in the production van. I was not allowed to go in. So every time I enter one of these stores, it's totally real. Like everyone else has seen everything in there but me. You only get a very, very small amount because we have a schedule. So you have a small amount of time, right? I don't get to just stand there all day. So I got to make quick decisions. So through all that, I bought a lot of doubles by mistake, a lot of common stuff. Tiger Heli, 4 or 5 copies. Give me a break.
Dude, that was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask was how many, because I mean, I know how it is. Like I have spreadsheets and I have Google Docs and I have notes and I have like, hey, I get in the field and I'm like, all right, oh my gosh, there's a bin of games. I don't even look at it, you know, or if I do look at it, I've bought so many games, and I'm not even trying to make a show. I'm just like some dummy that's just buying stuff to put on a shelf that I'll never play. So I was curious to see if you actually did purchase any doubles or if you intentionally purchased any doubles knowing that you might need them for trade, which I know there were certain sections of that, but I didn't know how much more on the back end that was.
There was a few. There was a lot of, oh God, 400 or 500 hours of footage we had, I think. I mean, the original cut was over 3.5 hours long. And we just
we got to get that
down.
one. Where's that, Rob?
Where's the Snyder cut?
Yes, you don't want to see that. It's the Bartlett it's all about pacing, and there's so many weird situations and encounters that just got left on the cutting room floor. Just some bizarre stuff that will never see the light of day, thankfully.
So that's a new YouTube series you need to release then, the Bartlett cut, and just in small sections, like how many how many times you smelt something really raunchy in a game store, and you're like, man, I got to go through these games, but this cat beside me smells god awful.
Yeah, it was a couple of the private collectors. There was one story. We were in Texas somewhere, and you guys ever seen Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So this family was reminding me a lot of like kind of that thing. And I have no idea. I can't remember how they got in contact with us, but we agreed to meet with them. And I go inside their kitchen, and they have all these Nintendo games on the table, and they have the gold card. They have Zelda, and it's kind of propped up. These are all just carts, right? That's it. No box, no book. And I quickly scan them. There's like 12 of them, and I'm like, no, I don't need any of those. But you want to make small talk. There was no small talk. It was all just awkward, and they're all like in a circle staring at us, like the crew. And he's like, you got this gold one, and I'm just like, that's Zelda. I got it. He's like, oh, well, that's worth like $5,000. I'm like, no.
You're like, no, it's not.
I'm like, it's worth about 30. I'm like, if you found one that's 5,000 at the time, it was probably in the box, still sealed. No. He's like, this one here is worth 5,000. Like, started to raise his voice, and so I look at Rob, and he just nods at the crew, and we're like, okay, guys, thanks. And we just start to like back out of the house as quickly as possible.
It's like that Dave Chappelle skit where he's like, "That was the old price." It's like,
yeah,
it's a sign says $5.
Yeah, it's like I know my games. I wouldn't call myself an expert. I know my games though, and Zelda's not worth $5,000. And that's another thing that we got knocked on a lot, was not showing the prices. And I always like to explain it on these shows. We didn't show the prices because it's now 2022, and the price of Little Samson is not $300 anymore. So if we're showing prices, I don't even know what Samson's worth. Let's say it's worth $1,500 now. It would be extremely outdated. And we wanted to create something that would be timeless, that you could watch anytime.
I got one more question, then I'm going to turn it back over to Joe. This is something Joe and I were talking about before the show as well. Have you ever disclosed what your total budget was for the actual purchase of the game or the games?
That's the one question I don't answer.
Okay. I figured as much. I figured all that was intentional, but we were joking back and forth. We're like trying to figure it out, like how much you think, and kind of shoot numbers.
And that's not meant to cut you guys down or anything. That's because that was from my bank account, right? It was all my money kind of thing.
That's insane.
It is an action figure adventure. It is as well. But, we show all the prices in action figure adventure because I auction it off. So once I get back what I paid, what's the remainder is what goes to charity kind of thing, right? So that's
awesome.
Care.
Very cool.
But yeah, for that premise, it was like, instead of me buying toys for myself, we still get to go, across North America, see all the cool toys, take them home for a bit, but then they get sold to collectors or whoever buys them, and then the proceeds go to children's cells. So it's the same but different.
I mean, I think it's actually absolutely amazing. Like I've watched a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff with like you and Rob, or just the toy show with you and Rob, and just you guys talking about how like Rob sold like a massive amount of his toy collection to fund both movies. Correct?
We both did.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'm a really big comic guy, so I sold my comic collection, my entire collection, which would be my Hulk 187.
Oh, wow.
I think it's 181. Sorry, Hulk 181, which would be the first Wolverine appearance. That was my jewel.
Wow.
And I sold that. I sold them all, man. Yeah, I mean.
And that's what funded Nintendo Quest?
No. I mean, it was a good chunk of it. So the stuff I sold was basically cash in my pocket so I could get the games. Plus, I have a bank account and, my job and stuff like that. But
makes sense, yeah.
It was just, if you want anything in life, you have to sacrifice and just take a chance and hope that it pays off. And if it doesn't, you just get back up and do it again,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So So what's the coolest thing, or what's your best find from a flea market or store?
Video game wise?
Toy wise.
So I have a 1983 Kenner Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker figure with a blue lightsaber.
Ooh.
So this was released. The original title of the film was Revenge of the Jedi, and George did screenings for test audiences, and Luke's lightsaber was originally blue. And audiences complained they couldn't see it in the Jabba the Hutt scenes in the desert because it was blue on a blue sky. So George changed the lightsaber to green, and that's the only reason Luke's lightsaber is green. You know, there's lore and stuff in Star Wars land, but that's the practical reason he did so. But before that, there was, you know, a bunch of Luke figures that got released with the blue lightsaber.
That's awesome.
And before they changed it to green. So that's one. I'm a big Luke Skywalker fan, so shout out to Mark Hamill.
That's awesome.
I'm sure he's listening.
He better be.
Of course. Yeah, he messaged me earlier. Just kidding. So, what is the flea market, you know, dirt mall, whatever you guys call them up in Canada? What is that scene like? Do you guys have a lot of places that are like pop-up areas where you can go and check out the used games and stuff, or is everything pretty much, you know, resigned to stores and stuff?
There's a couple flea markets. Yeah, we call them dirt malls. I got that term from Mallrats.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a few. There's one that's only open on the weekends. Actually, it's in Nintendo Quest. We go there. It's the last visit before we actually go into the States. We go to that flea market. Great guys, you know, but they know the value of what they have, which is weird to say because it's 2022. Again, this was shot in 2013, 2014. A very different world, right? So now everybody knows the value of everything. Where back then, there was still a little bit of a chance that people had stuff they didn't know what it was worth. You know, iPhones weren't the norm like they are now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we have those, but we have a lot of game stores here. We still have Game Cycle, which is also seen in Nintendo Quest. My good buddy John runs that now. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What else you got, Joe?
What's your holy grail that you're still searching for, game or toy wise?
I just found my holy grail. Wow. You guys should know it never ends. There isn't one thing that would kind of be like, that's it. I mean, for games, obviously, it was stadium events. And then you get that, right? And it's like, Snatcher for Sega CD is pretty rare. I wonder about that. You know, and you just keep going and going, right? Toy-wise, I just got the 1979 Mego Buck Rogers Starship, which is an incredibly rare and fragile piece that is always either broken or, you know, destroyed in some fashion. I've been looking for that since I was a kid. I never had it, and I finally got that the past couple of weeks. So stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I mean, I've been a toy collector longer than I've been a game collector, so I have like a lot of my stuff from when I was a kid.
So, you know, I was sitting there thinking about like, you know, when you said Holy Grail stuff, and I'm like, man, like I've, and also when you mentioned things always resetting, you're never done. And I had like, you know, the full sets of the KB Toys released Resident Evil figures. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan.
Those are great.
And my house burned down years and years ago. Lost all my figures, all my games, all my stuff. And, you know, once the house was done, we're kind of searching through the mess to see what was left. And my side of the house, there was basically nothing. But right in the dead center of my room was the GameCube special edition of Resident Evil 4. It was the collector's tin, the red tin that had the laser cells and stuff in it. And on the back, there's only like 30,000 or 40,000 of them made. And for years, I tried to track down one of those particular pieces that wasn't like totally just scuffed up, destroyed, whatever, without having to pay, a few $100 for a brand new one. For me personally, I like to find things in person. That's one of the reasons why this documentary resonated so hard with me, because it was like you said, man, eBay's kind of boring, Amazon's kind of boring. Like sure, I can go get stuff there, or I can get out and I can haggle and I can talk with people and I can go and just the surprise and the thrill of the hunt. And so for me, for years, it was like a quest to play on the documentary to find this particular piece. And of course, I found it. I was very, very excited. Is there anything you've ever lost that was like super important to your collection that you had to then go and find again, whether it was something that broke or something maybe you sold or whatever?
Yeah, 100%. Game wise, oh, let me think. Game wise, because I did sell a bit of my collection, like 94, 95, when I was, I was just a kid, right? I was in high school, and it's like, wow, you take stuff to the pawn shop, you get money, just an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of Dreamcast stuff. I'm a big Phantasy Star fan. So I sold all those, like 2, 3, 4 for Genesis and online 1 for Dreamcast. Those games meant a lot to me, and they're worth quite a bit. So getting those back sucked. Toy wise, some stuff I had my mom gave to my cousins. So a lot of my D&D stuff, the toys, not the board game. Like I had a Tiamat dragon, which is worth thousands now. I had to reacquire that. Stuff like that. Yeah, there's always that stuff. And for me, all this, the toys and the games are such a personal connection with my mom that it almost felt like getting a piece of her back. She passed just last year. So that's when I got a lot of these toys, especially that I had when I was a kid, that she got me that I didn't have anymore. It was really important for me to get those again.
Gotcha. What else you got, Joe?
So, Jay, I know you like 80s cartoons. What's your favorite?
My favorite cartoon?
Yeah, from the 80s.
That's like, what's your favorite child?
I know, it's so hard to pick. I'll tell you. Mine's probably G1 Transformers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Except for Headmasters, because it's complete trash, but they tried.
That's all Japanese stuff anyway. I mean, I remember watching that later when I got bootleg copies on eBay, bootleg VHS tapes that were dubbed over in English and stuff, and it wasn't the same. It was, I don't really count that myself. Well, Transformers the movie is one of my favorite films of all time, the 86 animated one.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, so I would like to say that, but I think G.I. Joe is probably my favorite.
Same here.
G.I. Joe is just insanely special to me, and it's still my favorite toy to collect just because there's so many figures. There's 500 figures.
Wow.
And you ask one G.I. Joe guy to the next, take out Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, but you ask, who's your favorite G.I. Joe? And everyone will say something different for
Pit
different
Viper.
reasons. There you go. It's so great, right? Yeah, I think G.I. Joe.
You want to hear something that'll break your heart?
Yeah, man.
My dad and I, when I was younger, would go and set the G.I. Joe figures up in the backyard and shoot them with BB guns.
Yeah.
And I had quite a collection of G.I. Joes, and I didn't know. At the time, I'm like, oh, I get to shoot stuff. This is awesome. And then when he taught me how to shoot an actual gun, I shot my G.I. Joes with an actual pistol. There's no G.I. Joes left to show for it.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that. As I get older, and there's occasions when I want to buy an old Joe or an old He-Man figure on their card still sealed up. I almost prefer when they have the old price sticker. Like, I never try and remove stickers. When I get loose figures vintage, I like it that they're a little scraped up. I don't want that pristine mint figure. If they're missing their accessories, that's okay. because they were loved, they were played with. Now, your definition of playing is a little bit more rough than mine. But the point being is that, you know what? You shared that with your dad and you guys bonded over that and you had fun. And that's what these things are. They're toys. They were meant to be disposable. You know, you might pass them down to your little brother or something, but they weren't meant to last. That's just, you know, man boys like us who can't let go of the past.
That's right. I got a basement full of the past.
Yeah, man.
That's so awesome. So yeah, it's funny. I had again, you know, harking back to this trauma I keep bringing up. My house burning down. I had the Resident Evil figures, but I also had like X-Men figures. You mentioned He-Man earlier. I had He-Man. I had so much stuff, and when my house burnt down, it was like, oh my gosh, I'll never get that stuff back again. And then as I had children, it was like this whole thing for us. So me and my oldest would go again with my dad to the flea markets, and I'd find the 90s Spider-Man figures and 90s X-Men figures. And I would just buy the crap out of them. We'd have 5 and 6 of the same Spider-Man, several of the same Batman figures, you know, the old animated series Batman, the Keaton Batman. And man, we just like, I would have like trunks of them. And my wife was just like, who are you buying this for? Him or you? I'm like, what are you talking about? These are for him. He plays with all of them. See, watch.
You know, that's great. I don't have kids myself, but that's great that you get to, you know, quote unquote play again, right?
Absolutely.
You get to play with your kids and not feel strange about it. You get to buy all these toys for your kids and see the joy that it brings them. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, man. We're doing FNAF right now. The Five Nights at Freddy's Funko figures.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hotness in this house right now.
Pops they're deadly, man. I've dabbled. I had to let that drug go pretty quickly, but I've dabbled in Pops.
Where do you stop? That's the problem with Pops. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, for me personally, Jay, it's Turtles. Yeah. Like, I only collect Ninja Turtle Pops. Dude, yeah. But even that is just, it's deadly.
Yeah. Well, I was doing, when they first came out, I really gravitated towards them because it was like weird characters from movies that you never thought would have a physical representation of themselves. Like, you know, you would see Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction. It's
great character.
What? There's a friggin' Marcellus Wallace bobblehead. I gotta get that, right?
They made one for a lot of Quentin Tarantino characters, honestly.
Exactly, and that's what was so great about Pops, right? So I started down the Star Wars rabbit hole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then, you know, the price, yeah, man, the price started going up to 15, 16 Canadian at least for each pop, and I'm like, okay, I'm buying regular Star Wars figures. Now I'm buying these bobbleheads. I'm like, okay, and I just sold all the bobbleheads, all the Pops. I'm out. I saw one the other day, boys. I had it in my hand. I was so close. It was Luke Skywalker holding Grogu. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta have this, but no, I put it down.
Yeah. We started on the Pops when they when the CW DC figures like for like Arrow and all that came out. And then like the Punisher ones came out. And I was like, well, I gotta have those. I'm a huge Punisher fan. And then when the Resident Evil set came out, I went to go buy them, and the old vocalist for my band was coming out of the local GameStop with an armload of them. And I was like, we called him, his name's Mike. We called him Honcho from that whole scene in Talladega Nights. You know, because like my name's Mike Honcho because I spread my butt cheeks in Playgirl. So we've been calling him. I was like, Honcho, what are you doing? He's like, dude, I just went and cleaned them out. I was like, motherfreaker, I was here for the same thing. And that he didn't give me, I still don't have a Tyrant, and I still don't have a Nemesis. And I was like, I'm not paying eBay prices for them. So I quit right there.
Because you couldn't get the 2 Resident Evil Pops, you're done.
I quit right there.
So messed up.
Hey, did you not hear me earlier? I'm like, you got to let go of that stuff, man. You'll drive yourself crazy.
Hey, the only pop I've bought since then was they came out with one for the Batman Who Laughs. And I freaking love the Batman Who Laughs. And I bought it. And then my youngest, he's like, Dad, you know, I really like that pop. Can I have him on my shelf? And he's got a few of his own pops and stuff on the shelf. I was like, sure. So he's got like the DCEU Batman versus Superman figures up there. He's, obviously those are my favorites. And he's got the Batman Who Laughs. And every now and again, I'll sneak it down over here to my office and put it on my shelf. And he'll be in here gaming with me, and he's like, Dad, is that my Batman Who Laughs?
Like, no.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure I paid for it, so you can take it back.
Speaking to your Resident Evil, I remember, I think it was 98 when that first came out.
Oh yeah.
I remember grabbing that for PS1, and it was just absolutely one of the greatest games of all time. I was a big fan of Alone in the Dark, and the first time I played that was on the 3DO. And I remember how haunting that game is. It's clunky as hell now. But, every time you picked up a book in Alone in the Dark, it was narrated by your character. The score was just incredibly haunting.
Yes.
And it's like Resident Evil. Resident Evil is just Capcom's version of that kind of thing. So
Yep.
cool. And I got it. And the game is just brilliant. And then a few years later, they came out with the director's cut, and all of a sudden there was different angles of things. And I was like, oh, this is so wicked. Love that game.
So it's funny you mentioned that one, the director's cut. They HD remake that came out in 2001. They ported to PS3, PS4. Well, I have not pushed like my Resident Evil obsession on my kids. I keep it to myself. I don't really let them play a ton of like mature games. I don't let them play a ton of horror stuff anyways. Like we play like the horror that's appropriate for them. My kids are horror fiends. Like they love getting scared. They love the jump scares. And so slowly but surely I've been kind of pulling that curtain back. I'm like, all right, let's kind of dabble. Well, like I said, 3 out of the 5 of us have COVID right now. So my oldest and I, the only ones that don't have it, we're in our game room and he goes, Dad, can we play something together with like a good story? And I that is just never him. He's like a multiplayer kid. I was like, yes, son. I was like, let's play Resident Evil. I was like, I've been wanting to play it with you. He's like, yeah, it's fine. So we sat there last night, yesterday, well, technically night before last, all day yesterday. And from start to finish, we played through Resident Evil HD Remake, passing the controller, and like read all the files and like watching him light up and like he's digging it. He's lit. I was like, man, I was 11 when I played Resident Evil the first time, and he's 11 now. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is freaking happening. Like my kid is like all about it. I was like, he goes, Dad, we need to do like a Resident Evil podcast now. I almost died. I was like, yes, that's so special. It's so cool.
Yeah, I think the only system that you can get every single one on, I think, is PS4. I have all of them on PS4. Yeah, I've no matter what system that game comes out for, I buy the game. Is Resident Evil 4? I've bought like 3 or 4 times now. Even the digital like 360 one. It's like, wow, I'm not really gonna have a physical version, but whatever, I'll buy it anyway.
Same here, dude. I've got every version on every system. I will say there are some versions that I lost, that I've never been able to recover, and I haven't really put forth all the effort. Like the Sega Saturn version of the first Resident Evil game, I don't have that one in my possession. My brother has it.
Quite rare, that one. It always was.
And like even some of the Dreamcast versions, we were early adopters of Dreamcast. My dad, he traveled a lot with his job, and so like what we did together was we played video games. He'd come home real late at night, and he'd like, all right, boys, did you clean your room? Like, yeah, whatever. Sure. I got this He-Man on VHS, and I got this NES game. Like, which one do you want?
Oh,
I kid you not, dude. My dad came home one day, and he was like, is your room clean? I was like, yeah. He goes, boom, Thundercats on VHS or Narc? Which one do you want? I was like,
Narc?
Yeah, dude, we sat up. Okay, so this dude would wake me up, right, after I'm supposed to be in bed. Like, hey, son, your mom's in bed. You want to play some Nintendo? And we would play Double Dribble till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
Now I know why you're the way you are with your kids. I get it now.
Yeah, dude, this is how
totally get it.
Yeah, this is mine and my dad. That's how we bonded. And like he'd be like, I mean, he worked hard, and he'd come home late, and of course he's got to spend time with mom and stuff like that, and then we go to bed or whatever. And sometimes I'd already be in bed, and he'd come in there, wake me up, aggravating the fool out of me. He's like, I just want to see you. I love you. And then he'd come back, hey man, I got that Nintendo. Dude, when Mortal Kombat came out, it was like a whole nother world. When Kano ripped our heart out for the first time, he's like, son, did you see that? That was cool. And dude, we played forever.
You have a cool dad when he says, hey man, to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. My dad's a bit of a dork now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think whatever he was at that age, that was him peaked. You know what I'm saying? Because like now here we are, 30 years later, it's like same dude. But he's great, man. But that was our relationship. We played video games and like, back then he worked all the time, so it was like we can't go outside and throw the football. We can't go outside and shoot GI Joes. So what are we gonna do?
And those games from the 80s and 90s, the cart-based games, it was so different because you would get maybe one for your birthday, one for Christmas. If you were lucky, you might get 2 a year. Yeah. And there was kind of some places that would rent them, but it was kind of obscure. So you would get that game, and good or bad, you would play it. Do you know what I mean? So like, you telling me about your dad bringing Double Dribble or whatever game. It's like, that's what Nintendo Quest is about. It's about the bonding with the people you're with. The game is just an excuse to get together, really.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So it could be any game. It's just like the time you spend with your dad you're going to remember that instead of, oh, my dad beat me, 28-0 Double Dribble or whatever.
Oh man, I made a whole podcast about it. Just like just going on, just playing games with people and talking about games. Like we don't typically do news and stuff here. Like if something's big, we'll talk about it. But I mean, for the most part, it's a bunch of friends getting together. And it's like, man, what'd you play this week? Like what's something that's going on? And that's why we started doing these interviews, just to talk with more people, outside of our little friend group. It's like, hey. You made a documentary about games. Oh, you like going and talking to people at GameStops and things like that, dude. Let's talk, man. It's cool, and again, to your credit, that's what's so great about the documentary. It was like freaking touring with your buds, going and game shopping, like hunting. It's very cool, very cool.
Yeah, back in May of the year 2000, Rare released a game called Perfect Dark on the N64, and we were really big GoldenEye fans, and this was the spiritual successor to GoldenEye. And I remember Rob and I couldn't sleep for a few days before. This was, we were convinced this was going to be the greatest game of all time. It still is one of my favorite, by the way. So anyway, he shows up at my door the morning of May 20th. I answer, because he just lived a couple doors down from me. And I open the door and he's got a video camera in my face, a camcorder. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I'm just going to film us going to get this game. I'm like, why? I'm like, that's so stupid. And, he's filming me in the kitchen and we're talking about the game. And then we're driving. He's filming me driving to the mall. And these were the early seeds of Nintendo Quest, as crazy as that was. And then he shows me going into, well, we didn't have GameStop. We had EB Games, which is, the same thing basically, to going to get Perfect Dark. And I remember Perfect Dark, and it's a great game, but I remember more the time Rob and I spent together and the things we talked about and how we were playing a game, what color is the cartridge going to be? We were so excited to open it and, smelling the cartridge and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, dude. It's funny you say that. Every game I open, every Blu-ray I open, I smell it.
There's nothing like a new game smell. Maybe a new controller smells a close second.
New toy. That plastic when you take the toy out of the package. If you're not a Mint on card collector, man, that smells.
It's not
great.
bad. I also like vintage comic book, like that old bookstore smell.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of that.
Yeah, those are great too.
So we're kind of running out of time. So Joe, you got anything else you want?
One more question, Jeff.
Sweet.
So the last question is: who would win in a fight, Darth Maul or Kylo Ren?
Kylo Ren. 100%.
Nice.
Do you want me to elaborate, or is that just accepted?
I would love you to elaborate.
Oh God, I'm getting PTSD for the sequel trilogy. I have a connection with Kylo Ren. I always did from the very first teaser trailer. I think he's a fantastic character. The way he was wrote in Episode 7 was great. Unfortunately, the other two movies, because the back and forth on the writing and the direction, that his character just got lost.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I think it really is. I think if Lawrence Kasdan and J.J. Abrams had continued to develop, and Rian Johnson, wasn't given the reins to do what he wanted with these characters, we would have seen Ren develop into something really great. We saw great parts of him at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. I just think
agree.
Maul is like Boba Fett to me. Maul was meant to be one thing. Maul was created to be a cool new bad guy who is expendable, and that's exactly what Boba Fett is. And only later, when everyone starts to go crazy over Darth Maul, then they make this ridiculous thing. Well, he actually didn't die, even though he got cut in half.
Yeah, okay.
He survived, just like Boba Fett. Well, actually, Boba Fett didn't die in the giant monster. It's like, okay, come on.
Oh yeah, his armor could withstand the acid that's eating away at it. No, it can't. No, it can't.
Yeah, Boba Fett was designed to look cool standing beside Darth Vader, and in Return of the Jedi to look cool standing next to Jabba the Hutt, and that was it.
I mean, Darth Maul was such a cool character. I agree. I definitely had that connection with Kylo Ren as well. Like, he was just such a badass character. Like, just from the jump, like when he stopped like a pulse ray, like in its place, like when that's like the first scene you see of him, and he stops a laser beam in its place, you're like, all right, this dude's stronger than Darth Vader. That's what you think of, like, right there.
And I can't remember the character's name now. It's been a while. The Force Awakens, the opening scene when Max von Sydow plays him. I can't remember his character, but he just flat out murders him. He just cuts him in half in that little village. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the theater when he takes his helmet off, and everyone kind of snickered because he's just a young boy. He looks like a young boy. I loved that about it. It was so different. He wasn't, every Sith Lord we've seen is all beat up and old and bruised. And this was just, some kid who's just lost his way, and he thinks he's doing what is right in his, grandfather's eyes. And it was just a really cool character, man. And unfortunately, he just got lost in the shuffle.
And so did Finn, though. I think Finn got lost in the shuffle too, though.
Oh, so many did. They all did. They all had. Well, Finn had nothing to do after The Force Awakens. He was just kind of there, right?
It was kind of sad, though, because they kind of set him up to be the protagonist, and then they didn't. Like, it was like, what?
Yeah, it was misleading. The Drew Struzan poster had him holding the lightsaber and stuff like that. It was, I mean, that's marketing, right? I mean, and then they kind of try to put a bandage on that at the end of Rise of Skywalker and kind of imply that he had the Force. And it's just like, dude, it's too late. There's like 10 minutes left of this movie. Like, it's too late now. Who cares?
10 minutes too long at that point, too.
Exactly.
I think my favorite scene in that entire movie was when Chewbacca got the medal finally. I think it was just so nice to finally see him get, like, his moment.
Sure.
Amazing response. All right, Jay, I got one more thing for you, and it's not a question for you, and it is on the fly. We didn't talk about any of this stuff beforehand. Since we have a series of interviews coming up, and through March, we've got, interviews booked every couple of weeks. We're not going to turn this into a complete interview show, but we got a lot of cool stuff lined up. The next interview we have is a comic book creator. It is someone who has founded Cutthroat Comics. So what I want to do is I want you to leave a question for the next interview. Anything in the world. It could be food. It could be comic related. It could be toys related, whatever you want. Whatever's the first thing that comes to your head.
What's his name?
This one is Josh Nealis. He founded Cutthroat Comics, and he has several different books he's written, children's books, things like that. So
I would ask Josh what inspired him to pick up his pencil in the first place, and what was the first piece of art that he drew.
There you go. So I will put that down. And so it's something I heard on a show years ago. Guys had it's a comic book show I follow. And these guys, like, they have so many of the dudes that kind of, they run the same circles, so they kind of know each other. And so they would end their interviews with leaving a question for the next guy. And most of the time they knew who the next guy was, or they were, they worked together. So a lot of times it would be kind of funny. And as I was preparing for tonight, I was like, you know what, I'm going to steal that. And except for our interviewers are going to span so many different medium types. So last week we had a fairly large YouTuber on. We have you on this week. In a couple weeks, we're going to have a comic book creator. And then after that, we're going to have another podcaster on. We've got a couple game devs coming on in March. So I was thinking, from one creative type to another, what kind of questions would you leave for them, no matter how straightforward or absurd they are? So
That's a really cool idea. I like it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not smart enough to come up with it on my own, so I had to borrow someone else's. But Jay, we definitely we appreciate having you on, man. It was a good talk. I really appreciate you giving us, a little over an hour of your time, man. That is very, very generous, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Not a problem, guys. I'll send you the bill. Just forward me your email.
Absolutely. I'll give you Joe's PayPal information, actually.
I'm just kidding. I kid.
Well, once again, man, thank you. Hey, if you're listening to the show, all of our friends and fans, thank you so much for making it through this. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure that it's been wild, man. We had all kinds of cool people on. We've been doing a bunch of fun stuff with the community. Check out Jay, check out Nintendo Quest, check out his toy coverage and his content, man. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you're doing, and it's a little different than what we've been, dabbling in ourselves. Granted, now we all kind of have the sounds of it, we all have the same interests. You know what I'm saying? Comic books, video games, action figures. So, I mean, the only thing we didn't cover tonight was wrestling.
I love 80s wrestling.
There you
100%.
go.
Who's your favorite wrestler minus Hulk Hogan?
Oh, damn you.
No, because everyone's going to say Hulk Hogan. That's like the Cobra Commander.
Sure, yeah. I like that. That's fair. Triple H.
Ooh, back when he was Paul Levesque.
Hunter Hearst
I liked it. I liked the McMahon Helmsley era, which I believe was 2001. It's my favorite era.
There you go. That was a good one. So, all right. Well, we're going to end on that one, Jay. I wanted to try to keep as close to an hour as we promised. I'm sure you got a billion other things to do. Thank you so much for coming on here. We appreciate it.
You guys are two of the coolest dudes that I've talked to in a long time. Thanks for being so respectful and keeping it casual. That's my favorite kind of conversation.
Hey, man, anytime you got something you want to talk about, anytime you got something you want to promote, the next documentary you do or the next big thing you got coming on, let us know. We will always make time for you. As fans of your work, we just appreciate your time. So thank you.
Anytime, mate.